The average General Motors truck now costs over $66,000. 600,000 of those trucks just got recalled for engines that blow up from the inside. And while your truck was breaking down, GM was recording your driving data every 3 seconds and selling it to insurance companies to jack up your rates. One woman signed off on all of it and collected over $300 million while doing it. Her name is Barra. But when you hear what she has done to the people who actually buy these trucks, you will understand why Americans are walking away from GM and never looking back. Let us start with the most basic thing GM is supposed to get right: the price of a truck. Because right now, the average American cannot afford one. In September 2025, Kelley Blue Book reported that the average new vehicle transaction price in the United States crossed $50,000 for the first time in history. $50,000. That is the average across every brand, every segment, every model. Now look at what GM is charging. The average GMC transaction price has been hovering between $64,000 and $67,000 for all of 2025. In August 2025, the average GMC Sierra sold for over $70,000. And Cadillac, which is still part of General Motors whether they want to admit it or not, hit an average transaction price of $84,579 in October 2025. That is a 22.7% jump in a single year. Meanwhile, the average household income in America has barely moved. Think about a guy outside of Fort Worth who has been driving Silverados his whole life. His dad drove one. His granddad drove one. He has been saving for 2 years for a new truck, and he walks onto the lot, and the number on the windshield might as well be a mortgage payment. He does the math. He walks out. He goes and buys a Tundra. That is not a made-up story. That is happening on dealer lots across this country every single week. And the numbers prove it. Subprime auto loan delinquencies hit 6.65% in October 2025, the highest level in Fitch ratings data going all the way back to 1993. Roughly 1.73 million vehicles were repossessed in 2024, the most since 2009. People are not just struggling to buy trucks, they are losing the trucks they already have. And GM knows all of this. They just do not care. Because Barra has decided that GM does not build trucks for regular people anymore. She only wants the high-margin buyers. The working man can figure it out himself. But the price is not even the worst part. Wait until you hear what is happening to the engines inside those trucks. In April 2025, GM issued one of the biggest recalls in recent memory. Roughly 600,000 trucks and SUVs with the 6.2-liter V8 engine covering the 2021 through 2024 Silverado 1500, Sierra 1500, Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, and Escalade. The problem was defective crankshafts and connecting rods. When those parts fail, the engine does not just lose power, it can seize completely at highway speed with no warning. NHTSA's investigation logged over 28,000 complaints and more than 14,000 reports of total loss of propulsion. Let that sink in. 14,000 people whose trucks just died on them while they were driving. And GM's fix for this was to tell owners to switch to a thicker oil. That was the solution. You paid $66,000 for a truck with a ticking time bomb under the hood, and GM's answer was to change your oil weight. By early 2026,
NHTSA opened a new investigation into whether the fix even worked. A consolidated class action lawsuit is now pending in federal court in Michigan, covering nearly 878,000 vehicles. Imagine you are a contractor outside of Charlotte, running a Sierra to job sites 6 days a week. That truck is not a luxury. It is your business. And one morning, the engine locks up on Interstate 77 in the middle of rush hour. You miss the job. You lose the contract. And GM tells you the recall fix is thicker oil. Honestly, if you were charging somebody 70 grand for a truck, the least you can do is make sure the engine does not grenade itself before the loan is paid off. That does not seem like a lot to ask. And it is not just the 6.2-liter. GM's overall quality picture is cracking. GMC scored 199 problems per 100 vehicles on the 2025 J.D. Power Initial Quality Study, below the industry average. Cadillac scored 200. These are not budget brands. These are the models GM charges a premium for, and the people paying those premiums are the ones getting burned. And while GM was busy selling trucks with defective engines, they made another decision that has their own dealers furious. They killed Apple CarPlay. Mary Barra announced that GM will remove Apple CarPlay and Android Auto from all future vehicles, not just the EVs where they already dropped it. Every single model, including the trucks, starting with each model's next refresh. GM's own internal surveys and a GM Authority poll found that 88% of buyers call the lack of CarPlay a deal breaker. 88%. McKinsey ran a study in 2023 that found 85% of car owners prefer CarPlay or Android Auto over whatever the manufacturer builds in. Almost half said they would not buy a vehicle without it, and Barra killed it anyway. Why would she do something that her own customers are screaming about? Because GM is projecting $25 billion a year in software revenue by 2030, and they cannot get that money if your phone is doing the work their dashboard is supposed to do. They do not want you using Apple Maps. They want you paying for their system. Think about a Chevy dealership in Central Ohio where the sales manager has been with the brand for 15 years. He is watching families walk in, sit in the new Equinox, pull out their iPhone, ask where the CarPlay button is, and leave when they find out there is not one. He is watching them drive down the street to the Ford lot. Ford CEO Jim Farley actually went on stage and publicly mocked GM for this. He said 70% of Ford customers are Apple users and asked why he would ever tell them good luck. I will tell you something. When your biggest competitor is laughing at you in public and your own dealers are losing sales over it, maybe the strategy is the problem. But here is where things go from annoying to genuinely disturbing. In January 2026, the Federal Trade Commission finalized a 5-year ban on GM and its OnStar division from sharing or selling driver geolocation and behavior data. The reason was simple. GM had been tracking where you drive, how fast you brake, how hard you accelerate, and exactly where you stop, as often as every 3 seconds. And then selling that data to companies like LexisNexis and Verisk, which packaged it up and resold it to insurance companies. Your truck was spying on you, and GM was getting paid for it. The FTC found that GM gave drivers false assurance that their data would only be used for their own benefit. All you had to do was download the My Chevrolet or My Cadillac app, and you could be automatically enrolled in data sharing without even knowing it. One driver cited in the case, a Camaro owner, saw her insurance premium jump 80% after 603 driving records were shared. 603 records from her own car. California followed with a $12.75 million settlement in May 2026. The state attorney general said GM made roughly $20 million selling this data. $20 million. They got caught surveilling millions of customers for $20 million. That is pocket change for a company this size, which tells you exactly how little they think of you. And a multi-district class action is still proceeding in Atlanta right now, covering every OnStar-equipped GM vehicle going back to 2016. If you have driven a GM vehicle in the last decade, there is a real chance your data was harvested and sold without your knowledge. And if you think the surveillance was bad, wait until you hear what else GM can do to your vehicle without your permission. GM has had the technical ability to remotely disable your vehicle for over 15 years. The stolen vehicle slowdown feature through OnStar has been active since 2009, and in May 2025, GM launched a new product called DriveBlock through its fleet management division. It lets fleet operators remotely shut down any 2025 or newer GM vehicle at the push of a button. Now, GM says DriveBlock is for stolen vehicle recovery. And maybe it is, for now. But the capability is there. The infrastructure is built. And the same company that secretly sold your location data for insurance profits
now has a kill switch in your truck that works from a laptop. And on top of that, GM has made a $1,500 3-year OnStar subscription essentially mandatory on most new GMC, Buick, and Cadillac models. That is $1,500 baked into the sticker before you even walk in the door. OnStar plans run from $9.99 a month all the way up to $39.99 a month for Super Cruise. GM reported that it already has 13 million active subscribers and pulled in $750 million in OnStar revenue in the first quarter of 2026 alone, up 20% from the year before. CFO Paul Jacobson has publicly said these software services carry 70% gross margins. So let me get this straight. You pay $66,000 for a truck. The engine might blow up. They removed your CarPlay. They sold your driving data. They can shut your vehicle down remotely, and you still owe them a monthly subscription on top of the loan. Call me old-fashioned, but I think when you buy a truck, you should own the truck. But here's the part that explains why all of this is happening. Where is the money going? It is going into electric vehicles that almost nobody asked for. In 2025 alone, GM took $7.9 billion in EV-related charges. That is billion with a B. The Ultium battery platform that was supposed to be the future of GM has been a disaster. The Blazer EV had to be pulled from sale in late 2023 over software problems. Then it got recalled again in August 2025 for parking brake wiring issues in over 40,000 units. The Hummer EV, which Mary Barra personally championed, weighs roughly 10,000 pounds. It is one of the heaviest consumer vehicles ever sold in the United States. It is like strapping a battery to a building and calling it progress. And after the federal EV tax credit expired in September 2025, EV sales nationally fell off a cliff. Cox Automotive reported that new EV sales in October 2025 dropped 30.3% compared to the year before. GM's own plan to build 1 million EVs in North America by 2025 was quietly abandoned. Meanwhile, the factories that were supposed to build these EVs are bleeding. Factory Zero in Detroit got cut to one shift. Over 1,100 workers permanently laid off effective January 5, 2026. Ultium battery plants in Ohio and Tennessee laid off another 1,500 workers. The Fairfax plant in Kansas was shut down for retooling. Add it all up, and you are looking at well over 2,800 jobs gone in a matter of months. And for what? For an EV strategy that has burned nearly $8 billion and counting. And while she was pouring billions into electric vehicles, Barra also killed the Camaro. The last one rolled off the Lansing line in December 2023. A Summit White ZL1/1 LE with a 6-speed manual. Gone. GM says a new Camaro is coming in 2028, but reports say it will be a 4-door fastback. A 4-door Camaro. That is like calling a minivan a sports car because you put a spoiler on it. The enthusiast community is furious. But Barra does not build cars for enthusiasts. She builds whatever the spreadsheet tells her to build. And if you think the damage stops at the American border, it does not. Because on the other side of the world, GM is collapsing even faster.
In December 2024, GM disclosed a $5 billion write-down on its China business. $5 billion. China used to be GM's golden goose. In 2017, GM sold over 4 million cars there. By 2024, that number had been cut in half. The flagship joint venture with SAIC that sells Buicks, Chevrolets, and Cadillacs in China went from moving 2 million vehicles at its peak to roughly 524,000 in 2024. That is a 75% collapse. BYD, Geely, and dozens of Chinese brands now control over 70% of their own market. GM closed an assembly plant in Shenyang in February 2025. Equity income from the China joint ventures in 2024 was negative $4.46 billion. Negative. A market that used to generate $2 billion a year in profit for GM is now a $4.5 billion loss. And Barra's response to all of this has been to call it a race to the bottom. That is what she told TechCrunch. She said prices in China are going lower and lower and lower, and that hardly anyone there is profitable, which might be true, but it is also not a strategy. It is an excuse. Think about a GM dealer in rural Michigan who has been loyal to the brand for 30 years. His lot is full of trucks that have been sitting for over 700 days. Floor plan interest is eating him alive. The new models are too expensive for his customers, and the used EVs nobody wants are gathering dust on the back row. He is not going to make it to next year, and nobody in Detroit is picking up the phone. The J.D. Power 2025 brand loyalty study tells you everything you need to know about where this is headed. Ford leads trucks in owner loyalty for the fourth straight year. Toyota is second. Chevrolet and GMC are not even in the top 2 anymore. A 2026 Reynolds report found that Chevy and GMC truck owners are now the most likely in the entire segment to switch brands. The most likely. The company that invented the American pickup truck is now the company people are walking away from the fastest. Now, here is the number that ties this entire story together. In April 2026, GM filed its annual proxy statement. Mary Barra's total compensation for 2025 was $29.9 million. That is her highest payday ever. In a year where GM's net income fell 55%, in a year where the company burned $7.9 billion on an EV strategy that is not working, in a year where over 2,800 workers lost their jobs, in a year where the FTC banned the company from selling customer data, in a year where 600,000 trucks got recalled for engines that self-destruct, she got a raise. Her career earnings as CEO now top $300 million. $300 million. President Mark Royce made $19.3 million. CFO Paul Jacobson made $13.8 million. That is over $63 million for 3 executives in a single year. Meanwhile, a line worker at Factory Zero in Detroit who built Silverado EVs for 5 years just got told his position has been permanently eliminated. He goes home and explains to his family that the plant is down to 1 shift. And the CEO who made the call to build those EVs in the first place just collected $30 million for the year. That is not a pay structure. That is an insult. Every single problem on this list, the prices, the engines, the data sales, the kill switch, the subscriptions, the CarPlay removal, the EV billions, the China collapse, every one of them happened on Mary Barra's watch. She did not inherit these decisions. She made them. And the people who trusted GM with their money, their livelihood, and their loyalty are the ones paying the price while she collects the check. GM reports second quarter 2026 earnings later this summer. Whatever comes out of Detroit, I will be here with the numbers. Subscribe so you do not miss it.